18 months ago, I didn't know this about health apps, and now I really wish every woman knew this. I have met you before, I'm Christina, the Femtech doctor, and I'm a doctor who's passionate about women's health and all things health technology. As somebody who's pretty unshockable, what I found was pretty shocking. So here's something that stopped me in my tracks. There's an estimated 1,000 women's health apps on the market. And when we started to research them, we found that less than 200 of them provided enough information for women to make a genuinely informed decision. That's 2% of health apps. And it's not because the information doesn't exist, but these apps aren't really designed to inform you. They're designed to keep you on the platform. There's a reason why many health apps have got incredibly boring cut and paste privacy policies. They know you don't read them. The next time you open a health app, just think, has it actually taught me something or given me something that's of benefit to me? Or is it just harvesting my data? Which leads me on to my next point. Your free app is not free. You've paid for it with your data. In 2025, we saw how the app Flow, along with Google and Meta, ended up all over the headlines because they possibly misused women's health information. They decided to settle out of court. Yes, this might be the first case that we know of, but I doubt that it's going to be the last. This week, Meta's actually being back in court, along with some other platforms, for having detrimental effects on mental health in young people. And I think we're going to continue to see this. It's telling us a really important message, which is that these tech companies, especially the larger, more well-known ones, are doing things with their data a lot of the time that we don't even know about, but they are not necessarily protecting us, nor are they medically qualified or making decisions that are the best for you and your health. I think the first time a company makes an error with something like your personal information, you think, well, you know, especially if it was back in 2019, maybe they just didn't know. But now fast forward, we're not in 2019 anymore. So these are not mistakes. These are business decisions made by people and companies who value selling your data much more than ensuring your trust. So go to your app's privacy settings right now and have a look at what's on there. If there's anything to do with location or data sharing, switch it off straight away. Most women have not looked and they've no idea what you've potentially also agreed to. The anxiety that you feel when you miss a day of tracking, that is not an accident. That is by design. Women's health apps use psychological tactics, not to necessarily improve your health, but to keep you on the platform. You also have other dark features where, for example, women will use an app up to week 13 of their pregnancy and then find from there on that the features that they need are hidden behind a paywall. This is designed to keep you paying more, giving more data as you proceed through all things which the company is benefiting from. These are decisions that are made in a boardroom, not made for your well-being. If you're using a health app, just notice how you feel about it. Do you actually take the information that it provides seriously? Do you take tracking seriously? Are you very relaxed about it? Do you find the info helpful? Or is it something that causes you stress and anxiety? Guilt and anxiety are not positive signs of a good health tool. If you're watching this and you're wondering, like, which apps can I actually trust, then head over to SheRanked.com, where we review hundreds of apps using our scientific framework. There's no bias, there's no sponsorship, it's just the facts. You'll find the link below. The next thing I learned, which was really eye-opening and as a doctor actually annoyed me quite a lot, was that many tracking apps, so for example period trackers, have been tracking your information for the best part of 10 years, maybe more, but they've done so little to improve women's health through research. Consenting to take part in research as part of an app often comes in the onboarding process. So that first few moments of when you first downloaded the app, there's often a little toggle. They might say something like, are you happy to take part in our research to help women all over the world? Something like that. In actual fact, a lot of that research is aimed at keeping you on the app and collecting metrics from large numbers of women, but not necessarily for looking for diagnostics or treatment of conditions like endometriosis. The frustrating thing is that it's really not about your health. It's about your engagement, your data, and the associated profit. If you're not sure, search your app's name, check for their research, and have a look at what they've actually done with the information that they've got. In some cases, some of the most well-known apps have been collecting data for well over 10 years, and the first pieces of research they've done have been the equivalent of running surveys and questionnaires. Somebody make it make sense. If apps don't fully understand medical conditions like endometriosis or polycystic ovarian syndrome, then what exactly is an app based on these conditions offering? If you're a woman who has any of those health conditions, you will know that even within medicine, the research is patchy. It's not very good. We're still at the point where we need to do a lot more work on women's health research. And yet apps are marketing and selling themselves as tools that are specific for these conditions. In reality, they're not really offering you a solution. They're not offering you diagnostics or treatment or anything like that. They're tracking. They're essentially tracking apps. Now for you, that actually may be helpful. Maybe you think, well, it would be helpful for me to have somewhere where I can keep all of my information and take it to my appointments. And that is valid. But on the other hand, we need to be aware that these apps are also collecting that data which historically they have not used for research. But in this case, because the research is lacking, they serve to really profit from any huge accumulations of data on specific chronic conditions that they've got access to. That is big money. So take action and check who's built your app and do they have a medical advisory board. If they don't, then you're in a position to make a decision about whether or not it's something that you want to invest your time and your money into. Your period tracker did not get famous because it was the best health tool on the market. It got famous because of really good marketing at a time when there weren't that many options. Fast forward, apps have been claiming for the longest time that they've been approved by doctors, that they're OBGYN approved, and many of them haven't even been working with a medical team. Marketing is not the same as medicine. And I didn't have to scratch very far beneath the surface to find out that some of the most popular apps actually have the least reliable information. They became the go-to because they were the first rather than because they were the best. Slowly, they've been trying to integrate some sort of medical credibility by trying to get healthcare professionals involved. But even then, it's very difficult to know the extent to which a medical professional is involved in the creation of an app. For some, doctors are brought on board to look through every aspect of the app, including confidentiality. And for others, they get one or two writers who happen to be clinicians to write something on their website, and it gives the illusion that the app is medical. This is how health apps have been marketed for the best part of a decade. So I'm going to play devil's advocate. Ask yourself, if you've downloaded an app, why did you download that one? Did your doctor recommend it? Did you think it was medical? Or did you think it just looked nice? Or a friend recommended it? Or it had a certain number of users and downloads? One of the difficulties is marketing thrives on metrics. And metrics such as numbers of downloads and numbers of reviews on a platform that are 5-star really sell. The reality is many of the apps that first came onto the market allowed free access, and people like free things, which means you're much more likely to hit that 5 stars in a review if something has been free. On top of that, they also allowed those apps to be free in countries where resources were poor. So if you don't have access to healthcare, but you get access to an app for free, you're very likely to hit 5 stars, even though there's no way of knowing if the information in there is beneficial, credible, or trustworthy. Millions of women every single year are downloading apps based on the number of downloads and the 5-star reviews. You wouldn't choose a surgeon based on their Instagram following, so why are we choosing apps based on brand recognition? So I'd really encourage you not to use generic app reviews in making decisions about your health. If you want to stay ahead in women's health and health technology, then subscribe to my newsletter, The Download. It's one app, plain English, every week, straight to your inbox. And when you sign up, you'll even get a copy of my free guide to navigating healthcare and health technology. I think one of the biggest things that I realised when dealing with health technology is that people who work in technology don't really understand the difference between personal information and health information. And so they treat it all the same way. Whereas as a doctor, we understand that when somebody comes in and tells us about their medical condition, it's confidential. It's a privilege to be able to listen to that information and be able to provide a diagnosis. There's something going on within health technology where companies feel like they are entitled to people's information, their health information, and they often do not understand the distinction between personal information and health information. They can make a lot more money off your health information as there are more products to sell, more solutions to sell into healthcare systems. And so increasingly, you are the asset, you are the prize, and you are where they set to financially gain. And so maybe really think, like, who's gaining in this scenario? Because I increasingly feel that it's not women. The other thing about it is we expect health technology to really advance in the coming years, and that's really exciting. But at the same time, none of the companies are taking responsibility for the fact that if they give you the wrong information and it's detrimental to your health, that they would have to take accountability for that. As a doctor, if I make a mistake with somebody's health, that is my responsibility, that is my license, that is my criminal record. And yet so many tech companies are still offering medical information kind of in disguise, but covering themselves with a medical disclaimer. They will put something about this in their terms and conditions, but they know that you don't read them. It's really important to spend just a little bit longer trying to decide, is it something that you can actually trust to make good, ethical decisions about your health? Save the best one for last. Well, it's kind of good and it's kind of not. The thing that shocked me the most about dealing with health technology is how much these apps actually make off your data. Your data is such prime real estate for tech companies. Menstrual data can make anywhere from $10 onwards per use, and they can use the same data time and time again. But even more so, if you are pregnant, it's 200 times that. These companies are making so much money off your information. And maybe you're somebody who thinks, well, I don't care. But it's not just that they're selling it and profiting from it, it's who they're sharing it with. So for example, legal teams, which has huge implications in the USA on the back of Roe versus Wade, selling it to insurance companies, which again really does affect the USA, but will soon be affecting Europe and the UK. And then sales and marketing teams. So of course, pregnant ladies are out spending. They know you're spending. They know to target you. You're vulnerable, you're hormonal, you're building a future. They know that it's prime real estate, it's prime spending. And so there are huge questions around just how ethical is it to be targeting women in such a way and profiting off them. I think at this point, the thing I would remind you of is that you are entitled to delete your data. Under GDPR, you are entitled to delete your data. It will also be the same in the USA. Many companies claim that they are keeping women's data private and protecting their data. But in actual fact, what we see in our own research is that there is a huge gap between what companies say they do and what women actually experience. I'm a doctor and I didn't know any of this 18 months ago, and the majority of women that I've spoken to don't either. And so you've learned something today that most women don't know, so pass it on, share with any woman whose health matters to you. Hope it helps.